Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Brew Pod Between the Lines podcast. This is your host, Caden Adsit. And boy, oh boy, did we have a couple of insane games here the last couple days for the Milwaukee Brewers. Specifically, last night's game, Willy Adames plays the heroics in yesterday's game with a go-ahead 3-run home run in the ninth inning with 2 outs. And just some really insane games the last couple of games. And I originally was planning to record this podcast on Thursday morning, just kind of do the series overview that I've been doing, but I was too pumped up after last night, too excited after the comeback victory. I was just itching to get on here and talk about some of the things that we've seen and give a little breakdown on some of my thoughts and things throughout the game as well. So yeah, like I said, Brewers, couple of crazy games here to kick off the road series against the Kansas City Royals. They end up losing the first game 3-2. And then end up winning the second game, like I said, in comeback fashion, 6-5 there yesterday. So just more of these one-run, super competitive games that we've seen the Brewers play over the last several years. It seems like this kind of seems to be the trend with the Brewers. They always play these close games. And even early in the season, it seemed like maybe there was going to be some more of those breakout games, with how our offense was performing, with how some of the pitching matchups were taking place for the Brewers roster there and starting pitching. But more recently, it's just seemed to be more of the same. We did see a couple of easier victories there against the Tampa Bay Rays to finish up those games. But yeah, I mean, needless to say, these are more of these same games that we've seen from the Brewers. They do a really good job even in these losses. For example, on Monday's game where they stay close. I mean, the game came down to the last batter, like it usually does. Brewers had chances in the later innings to scratch across some runs, weren't able to. So that is one really positive thing from this team, is they're in that game every day. They fight. Sometimes, yes, it does make those one-run losses a little bit more frustrating to live with right away, but then you go back, you look at it, and you're like, hey, I'd rather win in a close game than get completely blown out on, a day-by-day basis. The Brewers are right there. It seems like their record could, right now we're sitting at 21-14. It really seems like that record could be, it honestly could be more of a 500, but it also seems like based on some of the games, if they go completely the other way, it seems like we could be closer to like 30 wins by now too. So it's like, and I'm sure a lot of teams go through this, and I'm sure there's a lot of other teams that have played some closer games too, but Brewers on a consistent basis over the years have been known to be in these close one-run games and generally have been pretty good at coming out with victories for the most part. So, yeah, with that, one other thing that I wanted to touch on, good news on the Brewer side, Yelich is just around the corner on his return. He should be in the lineup potentially later today was his goal. But otherwise, there shouldn't be any concern with him being back sometime during this homestand against the Cardinals and Pirates that the Brewers have coming up. He's had some really good batting practice sessions in the cages over the last several days that they've touched on a little bit. Sophia Minert doing a nice job talking about covering some of what's going on there. And it just seems like he's trending towards being in the lineup at any point now. And I think this is going to take, getting Yelich in the lineup. Can't necessarily expect him right away to come back swinging as hot of a bat as he was. Considering that it's been a little while since he's seen big league pitching, going to be a little bit of an adjustment. But at the same point with him being a veteran player, as long as he comes in with the right mentality and the right confidence in himself, I would expect to see him have some success pretty quick and after 2 or 3 games, hopefully get back into a rhythm. And I think, having him in the lineup, even if he's not performing quite the same as he was right away, I think it's going to take a lot of pressure off of guys like Contreras, specifically him, who's basically arguably been carrying this offense for the last 3 or 4 weeks for the most part. Yes, he might have some off games here or there, but it seems like in those big moments, leading the team in RBIs right now, he generally comes through and he does an excellent job. So it's going to be nice to get some pressure off of these players for the Brewers offense and hopefully allow them to feel a little bit more free at the plate. Maybe they've been pressing a little bit, feeling that pressure. So hopefully that takes a little bit of any of that pressure off and gets them back into the swing of things as well. So yeah, with that, I want to dive into some of what happened on Monday and Tuesday's game, just give a little bit of an overview and recap there of those games before we jump into a couple other things here. So yeah, Monday, Bryce Wilson, he comes out for the starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, and we can't talk enough about him right now and what he's been able to do in this Brewers rotation since being moved from the bullpen. He goes 6 innings pitched of 1-hit baseball, collects 6 strikeouts, and surrenders 3 walks in his start. And really, I don't know where the Brewers pitching staff would be without Bryce Wilson, even going back to last year. You know, he was the guy in the bullpen that would come in for an extended outing for 2-3 innings after a starter typically struggled, or even if, you know, the Brewers, which was a very rare thing last year, to have them be winning by, 4 or 5 runs, he comes in, throws the last 2 or 3 innings of the game to kind of keep the bullpen where it's at, give guys some rest days. But now moving into the starting pitching, personally, I was a little bit concerned when I saw him moved in. I don't think the Brewers really had any other options at the time than to move Bryce Wilson in, but he has been arguably our best starter in the last, 3 starts. He had a rough first inning against the Rays in that last outing, but pitched phenomenally. He pitched really well against the Pirates in the last time that he pitched, and then once again here, just throws a gem of a game, 6 innings pitched on just 1 hit, like I said, gets 6 strikeouts, which is even a little bit unusual for him. And I really think the big thing is he's been able to maintain that high velocity throughout the start. We saw sometimes in spring training where he'd get to that 4th or 5th inning and he started to lose some of the velocity, but it seems like this year he's hovering right around 94, 95. We've seen him hit 96, 97 even at times of desperation when he's been needing to get some big pitches in big situations. So just doing a great job. The only thing that I would say that maybe work on a little bit was just that 3 walks. We did see the walks struggle a little bit against him in that Tampa Bay Rays game, specifically in that first inning. So maybe just one thing that you want to clean up. But certainly if he's limiting the offense to 1 hit for the Royals here in this one, the walks, you only surrendered 4 guys on base. There's nothing, wrong with that. So really good outing again for him. He continues to throw the ball extremely well. Gary Sanchez got the scoring started here in this game for the Milwaukee Brewers. He hits a 2-run home run off of a lefty into left field with a Brewers fan making a very nice catch in left field there right in front of the fountains in Kansas City Stadium. So he's really been, I think, able to pick it up. Definitely off to that struggle, and I know I talked a little bit of wanting to see some more things out of him and a little bit of questioning why he was there. But I think now he's kind of solidified his reasoning. He's done a really good job with 3 of his 4 home runs coming off of left-handed pitching. So really he's filling in the exact role that we were wanting him to come into here this season. I think he's done a really good job behind the plate for the most part. I think he's thrown out a couple of runners so far this year. He's been a lot better with framing pitches based on the statistics here so far this year. So just think it was a really good thing to see him hit a home run, obviously. And I think overall what I'm mainly getting at is that I think he's been playing a lot better ball here in the recent times. So yeah, at this point, Brewers are up 2-0, feeling pretty good after the 6 innings pitched by Bryce Wilson. But then Jared Koenig comes in. He has a little bit of a rough 7th inning, gives a leadoff home run to a left-handed hitter, and then ends up surrendering 3 runs total in this inning, surrenders a couple more hits. And then we did see Pat Murphy comes out, pulls him out before the bleeding gets too bad, trying to stop the bleeding, but Peguero ends up surrendering a couple of those runs, which ended up getting going against Jared Koenig there, as he was the pitcher who let the guys on base and wasn't able to stop the bleeding before the damage was already done. So Brewers end up falling behind 3-2, and offense just not quite able to string any more hits together. There was a couple times where they were threatening at points with some walks and whatnot, but not able to get that tying run and go-ahead run across the plate in the later innings. So a little bit of frustration there from the offensive standpoint, only 3 hits in this one. But once again, Brewers offense seems to continue to struggle a little bit against left-handed pitching. obviously, besides that one bomb of a home run hit by Gary Sanchez. I think it was 425-foot home run, if I'm not mistaken. So he definitely got some good wood on it. Definitely sent it quite a long way there in left field. But just a little bit of that same struggle here for Brewers offense against left-handed pitching. Not to discredit the fact that the Royals have a very strong pitching staff by any means, but you just wish that the Brewers are able to string across a couple more runs here in this one, especially considering how well Bryce Wilson pitched in this one. Really stinks to not see him get credited with the victory after just an incredible outing for him. So, not too much more to say about that. Brewers lose that 1-3-2. And then jumping into Tuesday, Colin Rea gets the start on the bump for this one for the Milwaukee Brewers. Offense facing the red-hot Seth Lugo for the Kansas City Royals. He started the season with a 5-1 record with a 1.6 ERA. And so you're not thinking you're going to get many runs in this one for the Milwaukee Brewers offense. You're thinking Colin Rea has probably got to go at least 5 or 6 innings. And honestly, I was really happy with the Brewers' offensive approach. I think they did a really nice job. We saw Rhys Hoskins and Joey Ortiz go back-to-back to lead off the second inning. Second home run of Joey Ortiz's career. That really started the scoring in this one. And not too much there in the middle innings. Collecting some hits, Brewers stringing some hits together, but not quite able to cross any more runs, get any more runs across the board with some of the threats that they had in the middle innings there. And then Colin Rea, pretty solid through 4 innings. And then coming into that 5th inning, he ends up surrendering 4 runs, ended up with a line of 4 2/3 innings on 7 hits, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. So just seemed like he kind of lost command there a little bit in the 5th inning, going third time around the batting order. Royals starting to get some better plays. All kind of started off with a little bit of a poor defensive play by Sal Frelick, which we're so accustomed to seeing him play such a tight defensive position there in the outfield. But he ends up misreading a little bit of a line drive, kind of just got caught in his tracks and really just misread the ball off the bat. Thought that it wasn't going to go as far as it was. Ended up having to leap for the ball, missing it, and led off the inning for the Royals with a leadoff triple there. So definitely didn't help Colin Rea, probably trying to get around some of that damage, which for the most part he's been pretty good at doing this year. Not only just limiting the damage, but really just escaping those and pulling off some Houdini acts of escaping some of these situations. But not able to escape this one, ends up giving up 4 runs after the Royals string together some hits there. And so then you get into the Royals bullpen. Seth Lugo ends up going 6 2/3 innings. So after those couple home runs, he was really able to kind of settle down. Like I said, Brewers offense, I still think had a really good job with their offensive approach, stringing some hits together, and just some more of the same that we've seen from this Brewers offense. The hard hit, hard contact, going right at players. Just seems like, at some point this is going to break through with some of the softer hits, finding holes, because just a lot of these at-bats have been pretty good the last few games. It just seems like a lot of the hard contact, hard exit velocity balls are just finding gloves, getting hit right at players. But see a little bit of that in the 7th inning. Monasterio collects his first hit of the year, which was an RBI single to right field, making it a 4-3 game at that point. And then in the bottom of the 7th, jumping to that, we see Jairo Vieira surrenders a run in the 7th, with Pasquantino for the Royals nearly takes off the head of Vieira. He had a screamer at 108 off the bat, and kind of one of those that was hit so hard it was almost like knuckling off the bat. Didn't even have much spin, it was hit so hard. But Vieira able to just barely duck out of the way. Thank goodness that ball didn't clip him in the head, because that would have not been good. Probably would have been, at least a concussion, if not worse, with that high of exit velocity. So really good to see him get out of the way and avoid taking that hit to the head or to any part of his body, really, in that case. So yeah, you go into the 9th inning now. It's 5-3 game. Royals pitcher able to surrender the first 2 batters in the 9th inning. Contreras keeps it alive. He hits a double down the left field line. And then we see Gary Sanchez work a nice at-bat. He draws a walk. And how about Willy Adames? Willy Adames, he's been getting a lot of hate I've seen on some of the Brewers fan bases. recently. This has seemed to be kind of his trend throughout his Brewer tenure here. But realistically, if you look at the at-bats that he's had, I think he's been putting together some really good at-bats, personally. He's been hitting the ball hard, but he's, I think, been the most victim of this, of Brewers players right now that are hitting the ball hard and they're right at people. It seems like in some of these games, his expected batting average, he would have expected to get 3 or 4 hits based off of the exit velocity he's getting in the upper 90s to low hundreds, but the balls are just getting hit right at players, and he had one earlier in this game. He hit a screamer off the bat on a hanging curveball. Really nice play by the third baseman on a leaping catch that held Willy Adames to a lineout, which would have likely been a double. And this has been a common theme I've seen in Willy's at-bats. He's doing a really good job barreling up the ball for the most part. And what better way to keep a defender from being able to make a play on the ball than hitting a go-ahead 3-run home run over the left field wall with 2 outs. You're literally down to your last out in this game, down by 2. And just an insane at-bat there by Willy. He gets another hanging breaking ball, and this time he got a little bit more elevation under the ball and was able to hit it over the wall and ended up being the winning run, both tying run and winning run at this point for the Milwaukee Brewers. So awesome to see him come through in the big spot. Hopefully this is able to break him out of a little bit of a funk, even though, like I said, I don't really think he's in a funk that much. I think it's just the contact that he's having, I think, is just getting hit right at players, or he's just getting under it and just missing some of the home runs or whatever it may be. But great job by him to come through in the big moment, pick up the Brewers from going on a 4-game losing streak. And then Trevor Megill, we see him come in the bottom of the 9th. He throws a flawless inning, goes 1-2-3 in the 9th inning with a perfect ending to the game. Short ground ball hit to shortstop. Willy Adames makes a really nice sliding play to throw out Pasquantino here to end this game. And just to dive into some of these numbers too, how about Trevor Megill so far this season? We've seen him struggle a little bit the past couple seasons with command specifically, leaving balls over the middle of the plate. And so far in 8 games this year, he's gone 8 2/3 innings pitched with a 1.04 ERA. And one of those runs that he surrendered was early on after that concussion protocol stint that he went on against the Cardinals there. He gave up and surrendered that one run, which I believe is the only run that he's surrendered here so far this year. So excellent job by, I think he's quickly becoming one of my favorite, personally, relievers out of the Brewers bullpen. He displays that high 90s, 100-mile-per-hour fastball that it seems like the MLB kind of rotates around those guys. But he's just got a nasty 12-6 curve to go along with it. And what I've been seeing so good with him this year is, he's doing a really good job of limiting the walks, which has been a big thing for him. And just the command is so much better. He's getting the fastball located up in the zone, keeping the curveball down in the zone, down and away to hitters, and just doing a really nice job. I think William Contreras does a really nice job as well of calling the pitches for these players, kind of knowing what situations the pitches play off best, and kind of guessing along with the hitter as well. So I think credit to William Contreras behind the plate at being excellent at getting these pitchers through some of these outings as well. But got to tip my hat to Trevor Megill, like I said, quickly becoming, I think, one of my favorite relievers in the Milwaukee Brewers bullpen. He collects his third save, and he's just been really solid out of the bullpen so far this year. So, and then one other point of emphasis here in this game, Brewers offense and their starting lineup. Each player in the lineup ends up collecting a hit in this game. So just really nice to see everybody up and down the lineup collect at least one hit, playing really well off of each other. I do fully believe that offense has to do sometimes with the way that other players perform. If another player's performing really well, your confidence going into the at-bat spikes a little bit, and I think that showed in this one. Brewers offense collects a total of 13 hits, which is definitely one of their highest hit totals in some of their more recent games. So good to see the offense break out, have a really good game. You would kind of expect with that level of hits to see some more than 6 runs, especially with 3 of those runs coming in the last at bat basically of the game. So You'd like to see the Brewers offense come through with some of those at-bats and runners in scoring position. They were so good at that early in the season, but I think recently it looks like that's been a lot more of a struggle. So you hope to kind of break out of that a little bit, maybe produce some more runs for your starting pitchers and just in general to give ourselves a better chance of winning some of these games. But nonetheless, Brewers win this one 6-5, and definitely another one, if not the most exciting game of the year so far, and biggest comeback for the Milwaukee Brewers. So got one more game today, the rubber match here in this series against the Kansas City Royals. We'll see Joe Ross versus the Royals ace in Brady Singer. Brady Singer's been really solid so far this year, just another great starting pitcher that the Brewers offense will have to face. And I think, like I said, I think they did a pretty good job getting to Seth Lugo early and just stringing some hits together against him. Just was not able to collect that big hit and really put a big crooked number up on the board in any inning for the Milwaukee Brewers. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully Joe Ross is able to continue and build off of his last start when he had that really nice game of 6 innings pitched and 1 earned run against the Chicago Cubs. Literally 1 pitch away from throwing 6 innings of scoreless baseball on that one before Christopher Morel's solo home run. So hopefully he's able to build off of that and kind of have another good start. And hopefully Brewers are able to survive the last game of this rough stretch of schedule and squeak out with a series victory against the Kansas City Royals. So I really do think this is kind of the last game for the Brewers in a little bit of a stretch of one of these better teams. Not to say that they're not still going to have to, play with the competitiveness that they haven't, in the series coming up against the Cardinals and Pirates and leading into the Astros and some of the other teams. But just going to be important for them to win this one, I think, here today and build in the confidence to this homestand. And then I really do think that there looks to be some more wins here in the future as the Brewers kind of get back to playing at home, hopefully able to improve their record at home to above 500, right now sitting right at 500 in that category. And then also just playing a little bit of easier, well, not to say easier teams, but record-wise playing some teams with a little bit of a lower record. And you hope that the Brewers are able to come through and collect some of those wins in games that they should be winning. So right now, Brewers remain tied in the NL Central with the Cubs, kind of going toe-to-toe right now, it seems like, with the Cubs. Brewers lost the game on Monday. Cubs lost the game on Monday. Both teams won in heroic fashion last night. Saw Bush for the Chicago Cubs hit a walk-off solo home run in the 9th inning. So kind of going toe-to-toe right now with the Cubs. Hopefully a victory today maybe for the Brewers. A loss for the Cubs would be really nice. But mainly what I was getting at, too, with some of the easier games, supposedly easier games coming up here for the Brewers. Hopefully they're able to string enough wins together and kind of start to pull themselves away in the NL Central Division lead once again, as we saw earlier in the season. So we'll see what happens with that. Don't want to get too much into the matchups there for the Cardinals series quite yet, because I am planning to record another series, another episode here after today's game. Probably be recording that one tomorrow morning. Just go over, should be a little bit of a shorter episode. Might try and dive into some more statistical things, some more things of hot takes that I've kind of seen, but kind of want to save some of the pitching matchups in the upcoming series against the Cardinals for that episode there tomorrow. So with that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to talk about today. Not too much more to touch on. Like I said, hopefully we see Yelich come back in the lineup. Hopefully we're able to see DL Hall, Jacob Junis, some of these guys kind of make their way in some of their stints, their IL stints kind of come back and hopefully kind of solidify more of the starting rotation as Freddie Peralta is serving his suspension right now. So going to be important to see some of these guys come back. But right now, I think Bryce Wilson, Tobias Myers doing a really good job for the most part, holding together the starting rotation and really just kind of keeping the Brewers in games and at least giving them a chance to collect wins in these games. So with that, BrewPod Between the Lines podcast is always available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and other mainstream podcast sites. So feel free to listen to this podcast from wherever it is you may like in the future. I can always be reached on social media using @brew_pod on Twitter or by searching BrewPod Between the Lines on Facebook or Instagram. Hope you guys are able to catch a little bit of the game today before we will discuss in the episode there tomorrow morning. So with that, we will see you guys next time. Talk to you soon. And of course, go Brewers!